Hey guys, Daniel Alexander here with my love Jordan Green. We are just out enjoying some nature, and I thought I would stop and talk to you guys a little bit about the concept of infinity and having an infinite foundation, right? So, in mainstream science and physics today, there's kind of this perspective that the universe is made of these particles, these finite components, and that it's a sort of a finite universe, ever expanding into nothingness, I guess. And when you have that perspective of that the universe is this finite system, you're always left with the question of, well, what is that system contained within, right? If it's a finite system, then what is the the medium, or what is the foundation? And if it's arising from nothing, then what is the nothing? Or if you say that nothing is nothing, then logically how can something come from nothing? And so you're kind of left with this hall of mirrors, this kind of contradictory, I don't know, just it's to me it's a very irrational perspective. And so through my journey, I kind of, I should add in, at one point, I was sort of the atheistic mindset, and that's kind of a whole nother story. And although I never identified with that label, because I have never really enjoyed identifying with labels, I did, appreciate people that thought in that way, and I myself thought in that way. And it wasn't until I kind of grasped this understanding that, this concept of God is really just the totality, right? The omniscience, the omnipresence, just the true infinitude. And so, no matter how you conceptualize that infinitude, right? Whether you deify it as a kind of anthropomorphized being, or you recognize it as a totality, which is kind of the way that I would view it, it's still, you still have to recognize that there is an underlying infinitude. Again, I don't know if I kind of got a little off track there, but what I'm trying to say is, either you can be in this mental state of, that is lacking foundation and is kind of creating this lofty idea. It's like, it'd be like a tree without roots, right? It's like you're creating this idea, but it's not grounded anywhere. It doesn't have a foundation. And so, the slightest bit of logic can blow it all down, can crumble the house, you might say, or crumble the tree. And so, that foundation to me really is this idea of infinitude, where you're saying, okay, this reality, or this creation, or this universe is not coming from nothing. It is coming from the only something, the infinite something, right? And for those who are familiar with Nassim Haramein's work, you will understand that concept. And if you're not familiar, I suggest going and looking at his work. It is, he is really kind of leading the way in this new understanding in physics, in a lot of ways. And I know there's the naysayers out there, but I think that they just don't quite understand what his equations are showing. But again, that's a little beside the point. Go research. Don't take my word for it. Go try and understand what he's saying. And in essence, to connect it to what we're talking about here, is he's saying that the something, right? That there is this infinitude, right? That the infinite substance is present everywhere. That this, I mean, literally, he says that space, right? The vacuum, that the vacuum of space, or what we think of as the vacuum of space, is actually this sort of infinite substance, right? This infinite density, and that the manifestation of matter, or these standing waves of energy, are really just these kind of this standing wave interference pattern of that colliding infinitude. And I know I just said a lot of perhaps large words, and maybe a lot of people didn't understand that, but it's when you can see, when you do have this foundation of infinitude, everything begins to fall in line. And I know that from personal experience, because I did have a fractionalized mentality, a divided mentality, and I was trying to understand the world based on assimilating facts, and I had this notion that I didn't want to have any opinions, and I didn't want to have any beliefs, right? I only wanted to know facts. And I wish I could say I quickly realized, but it took several years for me to realize that is sort of a ludicrous notion, right? That it, in essence, our whole perception is based on beliefs. And so instead of saying, I don't want to have any beliefs, it's really, I want to have my beliefs be in alignment with the greater pattern and the greater picture of things. And so, to reiterate this idea one more time, it's about having a foundation. It's about saying, creating in our mind a mental framework that everything can fit into, right? You can't fit everything into a finite framework, all right? And I know that in reality, these mortal minds are a finite framework, but the concept here is that we are striving towards that infinite potential, right? And through kind of fractal patterns, right? And what we haven't talked about that, but you guys, that's another thing to research is to understand what a fractal is and what a perfect fractal is. And you can go look at Dan Winter's work, and and how the phi ratio in essence is the perfect fractal. But to relate that to what we're saying here, the mind can in essence replicate the universe through its fractal nature. And I think it's a big topic that we'll have to talk about in another video. I should wrap it up. I guess, if nothing else, just try it out for yourself. Try having that kind of divided perspective, and perhaps you already are trying that out, because I think most people in our society are at least brought up in that way, right? I was brought up to have this kind of divided perspective, and it took me years and years of research and contemplation to begin to see that, there is a unified perspective. There is a way to understand reality as one coherent expression of infinitude, right? It's as simple as the idea of a tree, and I will probably talk about a tree in just about every video that I do, because they are so beautiful and profound, and I could talk forever about them. But very simply put, the tree has this, this 0 point, the starting point of the seed, and then it has this polarized fractal branching pattern outward from that point, and it blossoms into the many, leaves that would represent that kind of unfolding infinitude, right? So you have this unfolding infinitude arising from a singular point, and, in essence, that is a reflection of the universe on a finite plane, right? On the plane of the surface of the earth. This plane of the earth is reflecting the totality of the universe. I promise we'll talk more about that, because obviously it's a beautiful thing to understand, and it's a big topic to talk about. But I will leave it there, and I'll talk again soon. If you guys have any comments or questions, please feel free to leave those under the video. And obviously, if you enjoy this kind of stuff, subscribe, and I'll keep sharing my thoughts and hopefully guiding others on this path of transcendence, because that's really what it's all about. So, peace.